Local singer-songwriter Matt MacKelcan has emerged from the Southeast with a genuine combination of American soul and folk rock. I talk one-on-one with Matt for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Matt MacKelcan, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
How are you? Good to be with you.
Oh, I'm doing just great. I know that obviously you are a singer and songwriter who actually has emerged from the Southeast with a genuine combination of American soul and folk rock. Let me ask you, Matt, what's new, what's down with your music?
Well, right now it's been an exciting stretch for me. I'm out on tour with Martin Sexton, who's one of my favorite musicians, and we're going to do 10 markets together, all the way Virginia to Alabama, South Carolina, North Carolina, and then finishing up this Saturday in Orlando, Florida. We're doing 4 more shows in Orlando, and so that's been great. And then I'm actually working on new music here in Charleston with some real talented folks, writing and recording, and so that's exciting too.
And why this tour? Why now?
Well, honestly, it's been something I would have been hoping to do for a while, and COVID had slowed my touring life down a little bit. I had gone back out on the road in August with a great singer-songwriter from New Orleans, Andrew Duhon, which was great. And then I just talked to Martin's agent and trying to figure out different dates, and they came back with this opportunity, and I definitely wasn't going to pass it up. So it was definitely the right time, and it's kind of put a little wind in the sails, as they say.
Yes, exactly right. And when did you know it was the right time for new music?
I had started school in college at Appalachian State in Boone, North Carolina, and was focused on a bunch of different things, baseball and communications, but really found that I was being called to music more and more. I'd sung in choirs growing up and dabbled in violin and a few other things, but I always loved to sing. And then started doing some open mics there, and then decided to take a little time from school and decided that focusing on music was going to be the right thing for me. So I then transferred, excuse me, to a small college in Florida called Rollins College.
Yes.
And auditioned for their music program and went there. And from there had some great professors and mentors, and recorded my first record right after graduating from Rollins. And actually one of my professors played bass on the record, which was pretty amazing because he's a very accomplished musician. So after that, it was kind of off to the races.
Wow. And you talked a lot about instruments in that last answer that you gave me. So let me ask you, Matt, what instrument describes you?
That's a great question. I think my voice is probably the thing that most describes me, because I feel like you can emote the most from the voice and get emotion across and connect with people. And people, that tends to be my most talked about attribute of my music. I studied voice in college, and I think it's what makes every artist unique. But I also enjoy playing guitar, but my voice is probably the one that I identify most with.
And I know on your website it says this: Matt trademarks are a big voice, authentic songwriting, personal nature, and an extra dose of funny. So I know, right? So let me ask you this, Matt: if you could name a song after this, what would it be?
After the voice?
After having a big voice, authentic songwriting, personal nature, and extra dose of funny.
Yeah, that's another good question. I'm trying to think of what song. I guess I try to be the most authentic version of myself. So something about I try to be authentic and open with people and bring people in. So I'm not sure what you're on the spot to come up with a clever title. I don't know. I could probably do better than authentic, but maybe we'll start with that. And if through the rest of the interview I come up with something a little more clever, I'll let you know.
And you talk about obviously reeling in people with your music. So in what way do you attract and maintain an increasing and diverse audience base?
That's another great question. I think touring is great for that. And then in each community, you try to figure out, are there people that listen to music or friends, and you ask to share with social media. It's great. And then I've been fortunate enough to partner with some organizations in Charleston that I think help diversify your audience, whether it's charity organizations. I've worked with pet helpers. They actually help me find my dog, which has been great. And then other organizations that I like to work with. But in market to market, it's been fun to sort of reconnect with people after COVID. And the best thing I've had, been very fortunate I moved around a lot as a kid, and so getting to go to these places and reconnect with people, it gives a sense of community, and I like to bring that to what I'm doing. I mean, everyone's welcome to listen to what I'm doing. Hopefully more and more people will. And so for me, there's I just want everyone to come enjoy it. And the hardest thing I think nowadays is there's so much taking up people's time. You're trying to figure out the best ways to reach people. And so honestly, it's constantly evolving. And so I'm still learning every day, or at least trying.
That's right. And I love Pet Helpers for many, many years over the past. For the past year, I did Pet Helpers Pet of the Week with amazing people over there on James Island.
Oh yeah,
yes, sir.
So, I was fortunate enough to do event for them, and then Low Country Dog.
Sure.
Brian Foster there. He was actually the person that found my dog Melody. So I don't know, Charleston. We're lucky. There's a wealth of talent in this city, and diverse talent. Really nice, encouraging people within the community, and so that's been great for me. Coming from Orlando after college, I had a good group there, but Charleston feels much more inclined to support each other and different. I mean, and so the talent here, because it's a city that people want to live in, is just unbelievable talent. At the Poorhouse yesterday, I played, but they do a Motown day on Sundays. And the talent on that stage blows you away. And so the whole day there was people, talented people from Charleston, and then Martin, he's from Massachusetts, but obviously people touring through. So I don't know, we're fortunate here in this city, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you continue to evolve with the music industry?
That's been a challenging thing that I continue to try to learn new technology things, but I think, this indie label that I worked with for a while, the gentleman that owns it says, I think great music will always find an audience. So what I try to do is focus on the craft, and then, you can utilize these technologies to try to reach more people and different things, but try to make sure the songs are great or good, and then that can help take care of the next step. But I've a friend here, Craig Meyer, who's producing my latest song. He's an amazing drummer, and it's kind of inspiring. He's dug in and learned a lot of the technology side for tracks and trying to help evolve different things that I do, and he's working on. And it's fun to work with people that are creative and challenge you to get better. And so that's been fun. He just has a very fresh approach, but he's also done a lot of different things within the business, playing the drums, but also producing and doing tracks and different things. So that's been a fun. Before I left on the tour, he and I had been working on some new material. So,
wow. So how do you continue to craft your music while gaining new audience?
I've been. It's interesting. I think when you're touring and playing, and you don't have a lot of time to sometimes sit down with the instrument, but because you're excited and reaching people and wanting to grow your audience, impress people, your brain on the way to these shows is, sometimes the best things come. You're just singing in the car, and then you get to a hotel or you get to the venue, you're like, oh, I'll have an idea. So in some ways, it's probably like with you, the more interesting people you meet, or the more interviews you do, you might find a new way to approach it. And then sometimes you're able to maximize that, and sometimes you're like, I'm tired. But I've found a balance that I actually think when I don't have as much time to get in a studio on the road, but I have more time in just focused on what I want to do, which is creating original music. And sometimes when you're home, you're being pulled in 10 different directions. Oh, I got to pay the water bill. I got to do this.
Right.
And so during this span of March, it's all music all the time. Yes, there's ordering the t-shirts and doing it, but you're really honing in on your craft. And then, like you said, connecting to new people, which is really what the goal is, and trying to uplift them and see if you can make their day better. It's a pretty simple task. When you're out there, you're trying to see if you can make people have a good time and connect with them in whatever way that they might be open to.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So if you were in the studio today, who would you be as an artist?
Well, I'd be me. I guess I know that's I think for me, I'm trying to evolve, and there's some influences that always play a fun role in your music, and I think getting outside of what you might always do is a good thing. Like I mentioned, the Motown, I had a friend in town who's played with, and he's like, man, it'd be cool to hear you sing a little more on the R&B soul feeling. And then some people say, oh, try this that feels a little country. And I sort of say, well, I'm trying to write what feels right. But then sometimes people that are super talented can bring in little things that might help take your voice in a different direction, or have an idea. And so there's another guy in town that moved here recently who's had a lot of success, Todd Carey, and he's a great guitar player, singer, and he has more of a pop sensibility. And so some of the transition he comes up with, note-wise, I'm like, oh, that's cool, and it makes you think, oh, this can go a direction where it's almost not, you're not saying, oh, I want to sound like this, but it just naturally comes out, which is the hope. So it doesn't feel like you're trying to be somebody else.
Right.
You're trying to be the best version of yourself that you can be.
Exactly right. So what genre, Matt, or artists have actually taken your voice into a different direction?
That's another great question. I listen to a really wide variety of music. So Martin Sexton, who I'm on tour with, has been an influence of mine, and he's kind of like, he has some gospel influence. He has some regular, just folk, acoustic singer-songwriter, but some bluesy, and then more recent music. I listen to everything from. I always joke, I listen from everything from the Grateful Dead to Run DMC. I mean, my CD collection is super random. Pearl Jam to all over the place. But some of the newer things that I've been listening to, Leon Bridges and Nathaniel Ratliff. I write with someone else you've interviewed. I've written a couple songs. Emily Curtis and I had written some songs together, and so I'm very proud of those songs with her. And there's always a cool energy exchange when it's someone that they have a vocal talent and a writing talent. So it's funny. There's something I read that said there's a certain age where and I guess I'm not there yet, thankfully, but where you stop listening to new music, you only listen to stuff that you listened to back when you had a great memory. And I said, for me, it's kind of fun to see what else is going on. Although I do sometimes just throw on old stuff. But I was listening to Martin and I were talking about different songs that we've covered over the years, and he had done some Bill Withers, and but also like John Prine. I mean, that covers a pretty wide range. And so on this tour, I'm only doing one cover song, which happens to be a Leon Bridges song, Beyond. But I have a few friends in Florida that have asked for some mix up on that, so we'll see. But it's nice to sort of be influenced in a positive way by a lot of good songs, and there's a lot out there.
Oh yes, absolutely. So who else in the music industry has actually influenced you as an artist?
Well, I think over the years it's been I love Dave Matthews starting out, and like I said, Pearl Jam and Neil Young, James Taylor, some of the classics, and then it's Martin's been an influence, John Mayer, Tom Petty, but also I love a good singing voice. That's something I've always liked. So it's interesting. I mean, that's a really good question. I think at different times you can be influenced by different things. So just going back, I mean, in choir and things, we would listen to the classics, or we had to sing in different languages. But I always loved, Simon and Garfunkel.
Yes.
And then more modern things, would influence you as well. So there's been a pretty wide ranging scope of it. I mean, I went through a phase where, like I said, my CD collection was pretty diverse and random, but that's could be my conversational style too, I guess.
you talk about that conversational style. Then what is your writing style?
My writing style is, I think, introspective. A lot of time, first person. I've been trying to get out of so much. The joke is, do people just want to hear about your relationship struggles all the time? So, or positive things. So to love songs or non-love songs. So I've tried to do some more things lately, involving characters, nature, trying to tackle some issues, because it's important to me you have a voice, and maybe people would want to hear it. So I have the newer songs feel like a step in a good direction in that way, that, and I've been fortunate enough to write with some good people. Initially I was only writing by myself when I first started. And then my producer, Aaron Tapp, who had done a couple of albums, he's the guitarist and musical director for Matt Nathanson. He helped write some songs with me. Like I said, I've written now with Craig and Emily, and there's some people in Nashville that are wanting to write. So yeah, it's exciting. So
I love Nashville, man.
Yeah, Nashville. I was just there, and then I'm going back in April to write with some really talented people.
Yes.
So it's fun to get out of my own space a little and try to, try to write some different. I like it. There you go. We played a beautiful theater just outside of Nashville, the Franklin Theater, on this tour.
Yes,
and it was awesome. Then a friend of mine from here, Brendan James, who works with Craig as well, but is so talented, piano player. I had done a show at the City Winery in Nashville with him in November. And so, and he's a guy who his writing style is very honest and deals with nature and things. And so you get inspired by different people you play with, and you say, oh, I could do more than just say, I was sad because she left. So, I try to now bring the humor in sometimes. Sometimes I can be a little self-deprecating, but in songs, it's harder to do that sometimes. So I think just honest is where I am now. And, you get some gray hair, you get a little comfortable in your skin, or just uncomfortable enough that you can let it go a little bit.
Yes, indeed. And matter of fact, I was just in Nashville 3 weeks ago. Well, tomorrow will be 3 weeks.
Cool.
Yeah, for my third trip there, and we have a restaurant there, and I just love the city, the music, the food, and the atmosphere. It's an amazing city.
What's the restaurant?
Church and Union, right there on 4th Avenue North.
Yeah, beautiful.
Right across from the Knoll Hotel.
Oh yeah, that city has exploded. I mean, it's crazy. So there's a producer there who was connected to an old guitarist of mine, and he's worked with some really talented people, and he said he wanted to record some songs of mine. So there's some momentum happening in that town too. So we'll see. Maybe you'll see me in a big hat soon.
Yes. That's what I need to get next. So
I don't walk very well in the cowboy boots, but I can try.
Yeah. And it's a lot of incline up there in Nashville. Oh my God! But let me ask you: you've worked with Emily and all these other folks that you just mentioned, Simon included. So in Charleston, who do you want to work with next musically?
That's another great question. I mean, Brendan James is someone that we're talking about writing with. He's a national touring artist, but he's based here. Doom Flamingo, I've been very impressed with their sound's amazing, and they're doing very well. There's a lot of talent. Little Stranger is super fun, and they're touring all over the place. I mean, some of these acts are really doing great. Susto. Um, there's a lot of talent. David Higgins, I'm buddies with, and has written some really good songs lately. So there's a lot of talented folks that I'd be happy to work with. He and I have done some shows together. He brought me up to New York for his festival there, and he's about to release a bunch of music, and that I think's really good. So it's nice when you can work with people you're comfortable with, but also are talented and can push you creatively. So yeah, I don't know. The Charleston is a place right now where I think the music scene is really thriving. So yeah.
Where do you see that music scene heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think it'll continue to grow because anytime you have there's a good young generation of talent, and then there's some people that have moved here that tour but want to live here, and then there's people that have kind of come up here, and then you have some really talented people that are established in the business. It's rare for a city to have all those things. Some have, but Charleston, there's young, talented folks, and then there's people, and it's like I said, it's a good community of people. And I mean, my friend Luke Cunningham, who doesn't tour and play as much, writes great songs, and he's still writing a bunch. He lives in Nashville a while, so he and I can meet up and write. And so there's just it's amazing how many. So I guess I didn't even answer the question, but in the next 5 or 10 years, I think Charleston will kind of continue to grow musically. I know the hip hop community here is growing, and there's some talented hip hop going on. I know, like, there's Ranky Tanky, which is winning Grammys. There's young country stars, I don't know. I think it'll continue to expand because it's a place that people want to be, and there are people here that are talented and come at things with enough of an interesting perspective and musical sensibility that it's sort of an undeniable talent base. So I think we're gonna have some cool stories coming out of Charleston. I think people already sort of know it when you go to the bigger markets that if Charleston's got you can launch from here. It's in a lot of different styles because it's a very artistic city. It's cosmopolitan. It's not what people think. Like, oh, it's South. I'm like, it's a diverse, artistic, thriving community. I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's that new genre that you want to work with as far as music, as far as your music?
I think. Well, I joked with a producer friend of mine that maybe I should be singing over like EDM music, so that I end up in some of the dance clubs or something. And he was like, all jokes aside, you might want to. Who knows? Some more electronic stuff, but I still. I used to always have a band, or not always, but a lot. Now I'm generally solo or duo acoustic. I still think rocking the band show sometimes with some electric guitars and drums. There'll be a few of those coming up, and I'm excited about that. But yeah, and then in the back of my mind and the big vision I have, it would be a big show with some horns and a backup singers, like a real soulful, in that Nathaniel Ratliff big band, kind of like more dance party, but real soulful music, big sound. So it's just a matter of getting 9 or 10 people talented to want to do it and get them paid.
That's exactly right.
That's the hardest part.
Yes, indeed. So let me ask you quickly, what's missing from soulful music?
I think I'm not sure what's missing from soulful music, but I think there's a disconnect a little bit in music right now with expectations of what people are saying. Sometimes like, oh, it just sounds good, but they're not saying anything, or but I don't know. That's me. I think it isn't necessarily missing. It's that sometimes what's in the main focus of the public eye isn't always what I think would be the best representation of what's out there. It's crazy, especially seeing there's so many talented people that you've never heard or I've never heard until this, and you get exposed to their music and you're going, what's separating that from being mainstream or more broadly known? And so getting into the machine of music and all the different things, and like any business, sometimes it's just having the right opportunity to showcase what you're doing in a way that can connect to more people. And if you have the ability to do that and the chance, are you going to maximize that chance? But as far as in the soulful side, I think also as artists, we have to sometimes give the audience more credit and trust that if it's good, you don't have to, go and do it all by it needs to be here, 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 and this needs to sound like this.
Right.
Rather than mimicking, create something new. I mean, I guess there's only so many notes, but something that feels unique and new is always going to be a way to reach a new audience. But it's hard to do it when a lot of these chord progressions have been around a long time.
Yeah. So I hate to ask this, Matt, but what's stopping your good music from going mainstream?
Well, that's a great question. I think I've had some little blips, and I would love them to be more, extended. I've had a few things like this tour, and I toured with Eric Hutchinson and Matt Nathanson and talented people, and there felt like there was some momentum and things were happening. And then, COVID really came at a bad time for me. There was quite a bit of momentum, but I think that's a lot of people. But I do think, some of your other questions apply to me is, maximizing some of the technology piece. What can I do to stay ahead to reach more people? Like I'm not, I could do more with the TikTok or marketing and sometimes resources that I haven't had access to on a business side, or trying to do it on my own when I could have had a PR company or something. And then I've had sometimes where you have management that helps. But for me, I think generally it's been right now I need new material, which will be happening, and then a team of people that can help me so I can focus more on the creative and do less on the business. Because I think the business side I'm interested in and I like, but it can sometimes skew too much business, not enough creative, or too much creative, not enough business, and you're hurt one way or the other. And there's better business people than me.
For sure. So what have actually hurt you so far from a business and a creative side?
I think just time management. I can struggle with. So and then sometimes having the resources fiscally to do the things that people might not know. They go, oh, I thought things just happen where you tell a friend and things blow up. It's like, well, there's also a fiscal side where you go like, I need to invest in myself. There needs to be, or someone needs to invest in me so that my music can reach a broader audience. And so I think what can happen is if you're so focused on business growth, and this happened to me for a little bit, then you go, oh, wait. So the business side's starting to really take off. And then where's the new music? It's like, man, I've been working too much on the business. I don't have enough new songs. I'm like, huh. So that's where I joke. The time management, I still struggle trying to figure that out. And I'm always learning and working on it. But I think it's gotten better. But that's generally the thing that I run into is trying to balance it. And usually the people that balance it well, and I've been fortunate sometime in my career to say, someone else can handle this. Yes. And so that's why I'm excited more about collaborating with more people on the creative side, but also the business side, developing some relationships and continuing those relationships that can help me do what I do best, which I still think is write songs and perform them on stage like I did last night at the Poorhouse. Just do what I love to do and worry less about some of the stuff that take a lot of time but doesn't really help grow your audience if you're not as good at it as somebody else.
Well, you keep doing your great work, and I'm going to continue to watch you. And I know the
Thank you so
viewers
much.
will. Yeah, man. Yeah, and I thank you for your time here on Quintin's Close-Ups as well.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. What you do is fantastic. I think you're a big part of growing the community and showcasing a broad range of talent. And so I feel very grateful to be included in that group. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt.
Have a great day.
Likewise.